public hearing for Bristol. I have a letter from their attorney saying, as you're aware, we represent Bristol Development Corp. and the industrial subdivision at Renmar Ave. And we write, they want to continue the public hearing on the application, and will give us a extension through, did he say when? He didn't. We write to request a further.
Yes, I think it's, Bristol, I think is October when, they want to go to October 20th.
Yeah, but he says in October, but,
We didn't give the extension through the 31st.
yeah, okay, well, give an extension up through October 31st.
31st.
Okay, another second?
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and you got a date for him in October?
October 20th at, it's wide open.
7:15.
Okay.
All right, we will continue this public hearing for Bristol until October 20th at 7:15. All right, that's one.
Do you still want to re-advertise that and renotice?
Yes, he's gonna have to do what was agreed upon. Second one, we have a continued public hearing for 1429 Main Street Site Plan, case number 2109. And open it, and you gotta,
Can I have that other one back, John?
yep. All right. From Christopher Alpin, they've requested that they give us a extension up through August 30th, 2022. I'll make that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. August
Second.
31st, did you say?
You said August 30th. So,
30th, okay.
cutting us a day. Okay, we have, okay. And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And we got a date from Kate?
I can do August 18th at 7:35.
7:35. August 18th, right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll continue this hearing for 1429 Main Street Site Plan until August 18th at 7:35. Now we got the other one for that subdivision.
Yep. Same thing. It'll be 7:36.
Okay, we have a request for definitive subdivision approval at 1427 Main Street. And the applicant has asked for an extension up, grant us an extension up through August 30th, 2022. I'll make that in the form of motion that we grant it. A second?
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, and it will be August 18th at 7:36. Okay, we'll continue this hearing for the subdivision, 1429, 1427 Main Street on August 18th at 7:36. That was in Marion Street, and we got one more, correct?
High Oaks. Northwoods Estates.
The last one of the night, and then we go home.
That one's a brand new one, it hasn't been opened.
Okay, from GLM Engineering, on behalf of our client, this hasn't been opened, High Oaks LLC, we'd like to request a continuance of testimony for the Thursday, July 22nd meeting, and he wants the next meeting. And then the second one, he has asked for an extension up through September 30th, 2022. I'll make that in a form of motion, giving the applicant for Northwoods Estates 4 an extension up through September 30th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have what's our date?
August 18th at 7:45.
No,
No.
we just had 7:35.
7:45, she said.
7:45.
Oh.
It sounded right, John,
Yeah,
I heard
it's-
35.
I heard it too.
I heard 45.
Thank you.
Well, we have earlier things? We can't put it
Um,
earlier?
No, that's,
7:30, they're gonna back up anyway, because there's 5 ahead of them.
Okay.
I was thinking of the.
Or you have like 7:15 is what I
Right.
was thinking.
Yeah,
of. You
we're-
already have.
7:15,
Okay.
That's a big night that
7:20,
night.
7:30. They're already
Okay.
continued.
I see, okay.
Okay, since we're already rock, we'll just do the notes. I'll make a motion to approve May 19th and May 6th and June 16th.
Can we separate those,
Okay,
Mr.
I'll make a
Chairman,
motion
because I
to-
was gone on the.
May 19th, make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve June 16th.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain.
Abstain.
Who
3,
seconded that, please?
0, 1. Phil did both. All right, that takes that off. Let's see. Some of this other stuff, nothing here. No one's waiting for other than Dunkin' Donuts. And
Oh, thank you.
actual zoning articles. So, there's nothing else, right?
Garden
Just
path,
Pat.
Pat.
rules, yeah.
Yeah, I know Pat's here, that's what I said, the zoning
No,
article.
garden
Oh,
path,
yeah.
Oh, garden path.
the name change of the road.
Oh, okay. Do we have that?
Yes, we do.
Oh, I was wondering what you,
That should be a quick one.
I do.
what does it say it on here?
Garden
Under other
path,
business.
estates,
Oh, other
Forest
business.
Way.
All right. We have a request to change the name on Garden Path. Okay, you want to change it from Polis Way to Alexandra Way. And the question being is, before we get into all the votes and stuff, you have something from,
Should have letters from fire
Firemen?
and police.
There were things.
Apparently, there's no longer a functioning E911
There's
committee, which,
Yeah, I got two
well,
things
when the
attached.
E911 guy was there, he wasn't functioning very well.
Something
I-
from,
Are you watching?
That was
Tim
me.
Bailey.
I don't know who that was, but.
Email
Her brother.
Fallon.
Was her brother.
Brother.
Oh.
He did a great job.
Okay, from the Walpole Fire Department, Timmy Bailey, dated June 22nd. I reviewed the application to change it to Alexander Way for the Garden Path Estates, and the name, if approved by the board, will be, replace the previous name, Lepolis Way, so. He has no issues. The cops, I'm surprised they even care.
Yeah. You gotta teach him how to spell it.
Where's the police one? Oh, there's a group. Okay, the police department has no issues with the street name change from Lepolis to Alexandra Way. Please let me know
Awesome lot.
if you need anything else. So we got those, and that was it other than the applicant, so the
It's such
question.
a shame to lose the name Lepolis, yeah.
new owners, new
Yeah.
desires.
Yeah, okay, and you requested that you believe there should be a minor modification?
That is our belief, but it's
Okay.
up to you to decide, so
Okay,
that's my first question. Would you please consider this a minor modification?
Okay. Okay, before we decide to vote, we'll start John. What do you think, minor?
I think it should be minor, yeah.
Phil?
Minor.
Sarah?
Minor.
I do too, only because it doesn't change any of the plans, it's the
Correct.
sign there, so. Make a motion to consider this a minor modification. Go to second.
Second?
Second, all in favor of being a minor modification, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. And make a motion to allow the applicant to change it from Lepolis Way to Alexandra Way. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second. Any discussions? No? Not being none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there you go, bang, bang, bang.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you. Has he got the Jack Paper folder?
for what?
On the right?
Oh, this one, yeah. Okay. All right, the hour being, we have, before we take on Dunkin' Donuts. Pat, might as well do it, instead of holding you up. I don't mind holding Billy up. Don't worry, he's gonna sit until you're done.
You're up, Pat.
You're up. Billy likes being here. He's learned a lot.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for having me today. So I realize it's a little bit last minute in terms of getting on the agenda, but I'd like to have a discussion with you just both overall in terms of zoning and zoning changes and how the board looks and views in terms of what changes you'd like to look into. And then more specifically, I had 6 proposals I just wanted to bring to the board for recommendations, feedback. Obviously, right now, the warrant period is open. I ideally, you know, I'd like to mostly hear feedback first and then see where the board gauges some of these suggestions and obviously any other further recommendations that the board has wanted to look into and hasn't had the opportunity to look into yet. So, you know, off the front, I guess I will just go through the list I provided in terms of just a few of the suggestions. So starting off first, I want to take a look into residential parking requirements within the central business district. So right now, obviously, we have the parking code 1 of 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit, which is pretty consistent throughout the entire town. In the central business district, I noticed we've had a few different projects that have come through, named Liberty Station, Union West, the old Bank of America building in particular. All have sought relief from the parking requirements that are existing. So the approach I wanted to take was just looking in terms of more of a scaled back parking schedule, specifically for within the central business district. What I'm proposing is more or less 1 parking space for 1 bedrooms and studios, 1.5 for 2, and 3 parking spaces for 2 and above. And essentially what you would do, obviously 1.5, you'd think what is 1.5 parking spaces. In that situation, you round to the next whole number. So in this approach, we're looking at the room size as a barometer in terms of gauging how many more parking spaces there'd be per unit, and giving the opportunity that if you do have more dense development in the downtown, and theoretically you could have an opportunity where tenants take the public transit, tenants take the train, take the MBTA bus that runs through the 34E bus line. So that was the thought process behind that particular zoning amendment. I don't know if the board would want me to kind of go through them, or maybe just if there's any initial kind of feedback and suggestions.
Well, we do one at a time.
One at a time?
Just not-
Yeah, one at a time.
All right.
So would it make sense maybe to have you come back, Pat, so we have a chance to, you go through them all, we can give you some questions now, and then maybe schedule a longer session to talk about
Well,
it?
ideally, this is for fall town meeting.
I'd like,
This at the end of August, is that right?
I
Or
believe it closes August 23rd.
Yeah, it's already.
So I realize that
pretty
obviously,
close.
Pretty close.
and I know your board has, and it seems like you have a pretty heavy schedule for your next August meeting. Ideally, I would like to see if the board has any interest in sponsoring any of these articles. I don't ask for that, but I would just throw that out there if the board has any consideration in
Are
doing
you the
that.
first, are we the first one you begged?
Yes.
So are you thinking of getting it in for the fall? Because if we.
Ideally, I'd like to,
try to do that.
but I'd obviously
It won't make
want to
it.
gauge whether there's any interest
Yeah.
in that right now.
It won't make it, because our next meeting is,
August 18th.
yeah, but I thought it doesn't matter, you're gonna try to jam something.
August 23rd, I see, so still a fair amount of time. I was thinking July.
There's not a lot of time, Phil, because the next meeting you have to vote for if we're gonna
Right.
sponsor it, so it's all over.
Right, but there's more time than I was thinking it was July 23rd. so-
Typically, what should happen is these
Yeah.
should be proposed around April, you beat them up in May and June.
Yeah.
July, you vote them, and give them to them on August.
But why don't you go through them?
Yeah, absolutely.
The question, okay,
Oh.
the first
You
one,
want-
Yep.
a couple comments.
Yes.
One of them is, the way I read the zoning book is, if you don't have parking,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to have it. Isn't that the way it reads? You can use the municipal lot?
In terms of using the municipal lot, I believe that's,
What I read, and I could be wrong unless that's the old book, is
Yeah.
it's like, if you're not providing parking in your building,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to, you can use the municipal lot.
For
It-
commercial, maybe. Commercial's not required. Residential
Okay.
is still
Yeah.
required, 2
Okay.
per,
All right.
yeah.
And the second one is on this parking. This is gonna be, whatever you guys do, this is, to me, doesn't affect me, I don't think it affects any of us, the fact that we don't live around there. So you're gonna have to go through the police and, economic, the people downtown and all those, how that's working out for them. Because I don't hear of any complaints, I wouldn't hear any complaints, because I'm not part of it, but if you propose something, Patrick, to be changed like that, and all of a sudden someone gets up, we've towed 10 cars last week, and
so I guess, are you concerned about if there's not enough parking, what the
I'm not
additional-
concerned, this is the way it goes. You get in front of town meeting, someone's gonna get up and say, we just had to tow 10 cars from downtown, what are you doing? You kinda cut more spaces. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
You gotta find out what the other side, if there are any issues right now, before you propose that.
Okay.
Someone could come out and say, we don't have any now, or the train, how's that been working out, or something like that. You gotta, those are the answers you gotta have when you get up there,
All right.
because you don't want someone jumping up 2 or 3
No,
people,
that's great feedback, thank you.
okay?
Bill?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
thinking,
just-
if anything, there's not enough parking already. They're already scratching for what parking spaces this should have, and reducing it further is probably not the best idea. I kinda can see the idea, okay, a studio apartment, 1 bedroom, maybe one thing there.
Hmm.
The 1.5 or 2 bedroom probably isn't such a good idea, but if you only have one person living there, 1 car, that kinda makes sense, that part of it anyways.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the thought behind the whole 1.5 is there's no real perfect model in terms of how many people would be in a 2-bedroom. You would imagine
Right,
2-bedroom could lead to 2 people, but I mean, that fluctuates. It could be 1 person living there, it could be 4 people living there. So, I guess the approach was just trying to find a way to scale it back. But to your point, Mr. Conroy, in terms of what the conditions are currently, that certainly weighs heavier more than just making a
You
change.
don't have to talk to business, because you got Glenwood and you got Elm Street.
Yeah.
You got railroad people parking there, or I know for Russo's there, they park on that side, they want to be back to back.
Okay.
Is that affecting any of the people downtown, the other businesses? I don't know. Maybe it didn't make a difference to them, but just beware. And winter's gonna be, since that's gonna full now, that's gonna be an interesting one this coming winter.
That's an excellent point.
At nighttime.
I know Carl could attest to some of the calls we got from DPW in terms of extra parking from some of the buildings in Liberty Station and Union and West in particular, utilizing public lots. So that definitely is a concern in terms of spillover parking.
Yeah, I was just gonna say 2 things very quick. So I think it's a good direction to go in, because certainly we want to minimize the amount of parking spaces, parking lots that, it's not the direction. We wanna see more people take public transportation. We don't wanna
Okay.
be doing more pavement where we don't need it. And I think one thing that might be good, interesting to do would be to find out with those 2 large apartment buildings in downtown, how many spaces are really being used? Because that might be indicated, because it's an average.
Okay.
So some people have 2 cars and some people only have 1, but what you're saying is that we don't need to have enough space for everybody to have 2. and that-
But Pat did say that they went through and asked for relief from our current
From
regulation
regulation.
of 2 per unit.
Yeah. So
So
it'd be interesting to
they
be-
did reduce it, but it's a good
It'd be
question.
good to find out,
yeah.
yeah. So I think it's a good direction to go in.
Thank you. So I'll take that, and obviously that's excellent advice.
Oh, can I say a few things?
Yes.
So just a quick question here. Are you proposing at all, or did you look at also doing the business unit, the mixed use within the business unit, like the next line down on the bylaw?
Oh, in terms of reduced parking for
Yeah.
business district?
Yeah,
I didn't consider that solely because I think some of the business locations, I know there's the 3040 bus line that goes through that, but I think
not
in the
as
central business
supported.
district, it's probably a little bit more dense and has more access to, obviously, the train station itself. So I thought, I didn't want to look into just changing the parking for the business district right away.
Okay. Well, I am strongly in favor of doing that. I think reducing residential parking requirements for downtown is really essential for, facilitating more housing. And it's excessive, it's very costly to development, and I think it's prohibiting maybe some development. I didn't get a chance to look at the 2 developments. I know they sought relief, but I'm curious if you have it, or maybe you could get for us, like,
Yeah.
how this proposed change would compare to what was approved from the 95 West.
I can look
and
into
the-
that.
the
Yeah, I mean,
Liberty Station. I imagine it's maybe close, but I'm just curious the number.
I believe it was like 1.2, 1.3 parking spaces per.
That was 95 West. They went for
95.
everything. They got zoning relief and everything. Liberty asked for nothing.
That's nothing, okay.
They also asked for a
No, they
reduction
never got
in
the
parking.
No, they had, theirs was the cleanest one we ever had.
Are you sure?
What they did, yeah, that's why we had the doubled up, the one Boraski hates.
Oh,
Tandem?
yeah.
But it would be a
Okay.
good sign if that's working for them.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
That.
But yeah, keeping, the 2 parking per unit has a real effect on how much housing can actually be built.
Okay.
In my opinion, housing is more important than parking spaces.
Thank you.
I would concur with that.
So the next article, I guess, or amendment I was looking into was under the table of use regulations 5B1 through D, and this is for occupancy of more than 3 families. This is something I talked to, especially with the building commissioner, in terms of just looking at just a broad look at our zoning. In this use in general, I felt that some of the requirements that were being asked were pretty extensive in a way that almost prohibited the use from happening at all. And so that's kind of the basis besides some of the changes in terms of a reduction of square footage size for each dwelling unit above 3. Looking at the buffer that was proposed, 50-foot buffer surrounding the property from all other single-family homes, it seemed to me that would be, you're looking at an area that, I mean, obviously it's not as dense as the central business district, but GR in general, those are usually smaller lots. And then finally, if there's to be more than one principal building on the lot, a minimum of 10,000 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit was the former regulation. And so that was something I also thought was pretty extensive. I tried to look into maybe having that 10,000 square foot threshold kick in for each building rather than each dwelling unit, just as a way to try to obviously have that option there. And so that's kind of the thought that's the thought process, but basically behind it is, looking at those provisions, to me it seemed pretty tough for any sort of development to go in over 3 units.
I'd ask you, it's kind of related to this.
Yep.
I haven't gone through enough building inspector, everybody had a little different interpretation of dwelling units versus buildings, and you can't have more than one building on site. Yes, you can. It's like with all the condos, but they keep getting that mixed up. My opinion is, I don't care whether you build 3 high or 3 separate, you still gotta conform to that.
Yeah.
And if you could just, next time you're talking, if you flush that out, make sure that's, we don't have this, because we had that years ago. They wanted to do 2 buildings, you can't do them.
Yeah.
Why, there's 2 buildings on one lot? No, it's a they get confused, it starts to get that multifamily, everybody knows a multifamily is a 2 or 3. But on a lot, doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making myself clear, Pat, but it's like, they'd let you build, say, a 4-decker,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't let you build 4 individuals. That's more than one building on one lot. No, I don't think so in a GR district.
Okay.
That's one of the things that, if you just read it with Mr. Crowley and flush out, that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that there's no, because we don't want to allow this, but then you can't allow it spread out.
So that's mainly, obviously, I think it's, I guess I'd call it condition I.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
if it's clear enough and he reads it clear enough that there'll be no conflicts, that's fine, but if he does, that's something we've had, like I said, more, is it a 3-family, or 3 separate units you can't do, and we seem to have got stuck on that a few times, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other?
The other thing about, I know I keep talking, is if you have a lot, maybe you don't want to put it up or even connect, you have a back spot you can put it. Then it becomes more like a little village as
Yeah.
opposed to a,
In terms of tower? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
that one you don't have to go see the cops or the merchants. Those are the ones.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you. No, that's very good. Oh.
Sorry, just on that one, I was waiting for the chair to call on us, but this one I want to spend a little bit of time looking at. I haven't had the chance, but I just wanted to mention, so we have section 5G buffer zones. And so I'm just trying to look like now to make sure that there's no conflict, but you probably already checked it, maybe it's fine, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't conflict. Or
That
if
was
it does, change both.
The general purpose of the buffer zones is for an intermix between residential and non-residential. That was the basic purpose.
Right.
And then they've added extra buffer zones depending on special cases like this one, yeah.
Right. I just want to make sure that there's no conflict, but I didn't get a chance to really make sure.
The 50-foot buffer come because, years ago, because if you were building in East Walpole
Mhm.
and you put up this, big apartment, or say, take Parkside over here, if that was
Yeah.
put in East Walpole, you wanna have a little buffer between you and the rest of the GR, which could be single or could be two, but at least the single, they just wanna make sure you're not doing the same thing. That was the whole purpose. I don't know whether 50's the right number or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good look at when you're thinking of a larger scale development, but I guess if the same threshold is impacted for like a 4-family, or if it's a,
Yeah.
then you're having a pretty large buffer for something
I
like that.
believe we changed that rule too, because up on Plimpton Street, they played cutesy, and what happened is when they did those condos, they bought the house next to it, and they carved off a little piece
Mhm.
that wide, so it wasn't in a butter.
Oh, really?
They'd have to do it, a loophole.
Yeah.
We closed the same loophole out in Route 1, where the Russian thing is.
Oh, yeah.
It said you couldn't abut it. Developer, Jake Murphy, put a 1-foot thing right behind it, so I'm not a butter. But the whole purpose, you
Yeah.
understand, that we got rid of that, we said more like the crow flies. right?
Gotcha.
But the buffer, I guess you'd have to look at kind of each individual situation. I think to me it'd be more of a height issue than anything.
Okay. So we'll-
I mean, if my house is 40 feet high and they wanna put a house up 40 feet, I don't see why you need that extra buffer, but if
Yeah.
they're doing, 52 or whatever,
and it's gonna look very out of place in that area. That's a good idea.
I think it is a good direction, again, for increasing the amount of housing, Pat, so it's a good to make it easier for developers.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
first-
that was partially the reason I think
Yeah.
I'm just looking at that is, thank you.
and that's,
Moving on, so I just looked into a highway business district in terms of its dimensional regulations. I know this is more or less, I kind of looked at our neighbors really and kind of tried to do a best comparison in terms of, obviously we don't need to be compared to our neighbors, but just seeing Route 1, how it looks from, Dedham down to Rentham and where those dimensional regulations kind of fit in. And that's why, obviously the frontage proposal of 50 feet, down to 30, the minimum side back from 40 to 25, and then increasing the height from 45 to 55 with no more than 5 stories. I was trying to find some sort of connection where if we can, lower some of those regulations while increasing height, is there an opportunity there for future growth that we may be missing out on?
I think the height would come, the key one would be fire department.
Fire,
That's the one on the height. As far as the sides, I don't think so. I can tell you the 50-foot. The 50-foot was changed by us about 20 years ago.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to look like Norwood.
There you go.
We didn't want to
Yeah.
pave right up to Route 1. In Norwood, there's wetlands. Pave it, hurry up before someone finds it. That was the whole purpose.
Yep.
What's funny is bid cars, what was there before them, and the other ones, they were all parking within the 50-foot, and that wasn't being enforced. But that was the reason we ended up with the 50 feet. We didn't want to cross into Norwood where everybody's right on the curb.
Oh yeah, that's definitely an issue there for
And
sure.
I don't know if the 50, it gives it a better look and flavor when you drive in, and I don't know how much, if you chopped it to 30, that extra 20 feet's gonna make a difference to the business, but that extra, I think, does make a difference from the look.
Absolutely.
But the only problem is you got other ones that are already in there, so. But that's how we got the 50.
And honestly, it makes sense too. Foxborough in particular, I looked at that, and they do have a 50 within their highway business, and then they also have a special zone specifically for Gillette. They kept the front setback at 50 as well, but their height goes up to 70. So, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag when you look from.
70, they're higher than 70 there.
The height is, I think it's the S1 district. It's like,
Hospital's gotta be over that, right?
the one in
The Gillette?
Gillette, over 70.
Yeah.
Might get a variance for it. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, they kinda do what they want. But
Yeah.
do you remember who wanted 50, Kate? Fosberg. But he works in Norwood as a plumbing inspector. I don't wanna look like Norwood, but I work there.
I won't write that down.
But that was the reason for the 50, Patrick, so.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments?
Oh, and I keep it, there's another one that I don't think affects the average town person, but if
Yeah.
you're gonna do it, before you present it, go up and talk to a couple of guys who just built like bid cars, and ask them, did that make a bigger difference? What would it have done for you, that extra, if you went from 50 to 30? Was that the break-all point of it?
Okay. The next one I was looking into is pretty pretty simple in the sense that two-family detached dwellings currently is a special permit. Just thought the use in general made more sense as by right, especially for it's only allowed in the general residential district. It's a, you know, two families, condexes, as you want to call them. I mean, they're pretty standard, I would think, in a typical general residential zone. And so the special permit, in my opinion, I just felt was a little bit more extensive, especially if they have the square footage that's required, and if they have the sewer hookup. Having that extra step of getting that special permit seemed to be a little bit more than maybe was
That's
necessary.
good again for increasing our housing stock and
Once upon a time,
Yeah.
you could build, you didn't have special permits in GR.
Yeah.
You build what, as long as you met the criteria, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. But back in the 80s, something happened, and a move afoot, and somebody didn't like it, and they got town meeting to change it.
Yeah.
So you put people through a lot of effort, and it's hard to deny it, because what do you deny? It's a right in your book, so.
Correct.
when you say something happened, Jack, you mean someone didn't like something?
No, someone had something built behind their house, and they didn't realize they're in a GR. So they started beating them back in the mid-'80s. Were you here for the house? By you, Phil, the one that said the planning board failed? Remember that guy? By you?
Oh, yeah, that's.
That lot there, that's what happened to that lot. That was legal back in the time.
Yeah,
And then they
yeah.
changed, that's what happened.
Yeah, but that,
173 Pemberton?
Yeah, but what they did is they now made everything a special permit, and they narrowed things down. It's all because there was some condos built, and the people didn't like it. Why are they doing this? And then we ain't gonna let that happen again. I don't think it stops, it just makes it that
Extra
much
step.
tougher to do.
Yeah.
I think it does, I think it does stop some development. People don't, people, you know, developers see special permits like, you know, it's just a big headache, it's costly, they need lawyers, so I think I would look forward to the day where we go further into other zones, but yeah, fully supportive of this one.
and it's in keeping in the neighborhoods we already have in general residence.
Yes.
There's already a lot of two-family houses, and that's there've been several articles in the Globe, New York Times recently, that if we're gonna solve the housing
Not my
crisis in Massachusetts and in eastern Massachusetts, there's only one way to do it, and that's increasing the housing stock. We are so far behind in the Northeast or in Massachusetts in doing that. So these are very sensible ways to increase housing, reduce the cost of new housing, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a variety in the housing stock, like you pointed. There's a lot of great subdivisions going on in town, single-family homes. We have, obviously, new apartments. This is kind of that middle ground where it's more affordable, but it could still blend into the character of the area.
Well,
And we already have neighborhoods, you know, from the, you know, early 1900s that are a lot of two-story, two-family houses in our, you know, East Walpole, the central.
This one, someone may ask you on the 3, 4, if you meet the criteria, why can't you do it? But you do a baby step
Yeah.
with a two-family, and like you said, if they got the lot size, they got the setback, they got everything.
Yeah.
When you go in front of the zoning board, what are they gonna do? Ain't a whole lot.
Just give you a hard time.
True.
Just at an expense just to get it through.
Yeah.
But this is a baby step, which you're probably starting.
Yeah.
Someday, someone else will do it when you're
Taking another
at
step
the big
further.
job in Boston or something.
So, obviously, this one is, it's pretty small in the sense, but is there still, I do want to be respectful of the board's, the process that you usually follow in terms of looking at zoning articles or anything like that. Is this something that the board would ever consider looking at for this fall, it being that it is a fairly minor change, or would you rather keep it to your typical
Going too
schedule?
quick.
A little too quick?
I mean, we're talking about tonight, there could be something, and
Okay.
you're gonna jam it every time, and our August 18th meeting is a long time. On this particular one, because it's a special anything you're trying to get rid of the special permit,
Yeah.
that doesn't involve us, it's your board, you should get there, I'm saying, it's pointing to who,
Oh, yeah.
who deals with it all the time
Yeah.
and say, yeah, we don't know what to do, right? What are we supposed to do? It's like, they got everything, they look for stuff.
Correct.
So that's another one when you, so we get, like like a lawyer when he goes to court, he already knows the answers to the questions, and that's what kind of saying like this. You go to your zoning board, what do you guys think? Is there anything here that's helping? No.
So I guess, before going through the rest of them, just to understand from my own basis, so when you look at the fall, you said by April, would probably be a good time to kind of bring forward things for the fall, and then for the
You
spring.
can do it in the spring.
Do in the spring,
You can, yeah.
to talk to you.
It depends, we've had a bunch of people at town meetings, it's fall's traditionally zoning and, spring is traditionally finance, but it's been done.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily work
cares?
that way. And matter of fact, a lot of falls have turned into money.
Yeah,
So it's not like, once upon a time, there was a pretty much dividing line, you go back 30 years, but now it's,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Capital's in the fall now, budgets are in the spring, so it's, the finances are every which way.
yeah, okay, so, yeah, so.
So
So maybe if you could come back, what, in September or something, not to wait too long?
Yeah, I mean, whatever
Come
works
back and
best for
see
your
what you got
schedule.
and where you're going with it, yeah.
Do a little more research, I can come back in the fall and then maybe think of it for the spring or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you just, what you wanna do is, you wanna have the day the warrant closes, they get the article all done, whether it's from us or anybody, it's already been, I hate the word vetted, because years ago, you used to put them in front of town meeting, and the town's attorney rip them apart.
Yeah.
Because, well, didn't, so what we do here is we'll send it to Copeland and Page,
Yeah.
not for their input, whether they think it's a great article, but just all the legalese crap. So that they can, because you don't wanna have something that's superior, you know, just as something we could have messed up on verbally or something like that. The intent is ours, but they just clean it up so it works. So legally it will work and they won't have any issues. That's, once you do that, typically we'd vote the article, that's great, send it off to town council, they go, well, you gotta change this and this and this, because it doesn't, okay, fine. And we vote that before the warrant closes, so if we do it this year, this would have been the night, and then we send it off.
Understand.
It's a little bit of process, but you don't wanna have it too rushed either.
You want to have a much more complete article before the warrant closes, and then obviously before
Yeah,
the public hearing.
and what's to say, who cares if it sits around for 2 months and then the warrant opens, you know what I mean? But the other thing, remember, it opens early in December, right? I don't
Yeah.
like it, the way it opens. See, you just done fall town meeting, and the next one opens, and they
I know.
close
They
it
come
to,
super quick, so.
Close it too quick.
If you can come
That's
September.
part of my naivety of just being here and getting used to the warrant schedule in Walpole. It's
well, the warrant schedule is what happened, is town meeting used to be April,
yeah.
and elections were May. Then they moved everything back a month, they're waiting for the cherry sheet, so to speak. I don't know, is it still a cherry sheet? But they never moved the warrant. So if you're gonna open, everything's gonna be a month later,
Yeah.
then start it, open it a month later, and close it a month later.
Gotcha.
That's how we ended up jammed like that.
All right.
Do we still have a cherry sheet, Kyle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is all very familiar to me. It also happened in another community that I work for. Exactly the same thing.
And I don't think the finances being rejuggled by the state made that much difference either.
No?
Nope.
All right.
One more,
So the
two more.
next one, so this is, to your point, Mr. Chairman, one of the boards I work with in particular deals with these articles a lot, and I mean, these such permit requests a lot being in-laws. This is something that truthfully, you know, we'll probably take another look at again. And so some of the changes that we're proposing were more or less minor, and these are part of the requirements section. Exterior landings, this is a comment, just talking to the building commissioner. Right now, 2 or more exterior landings. Talking to the building commissioner, we thought that 1 would probably be more efficient in keeping with the look of a single-family home rather than 2. There's also requirements within the bylaw where, there's asterisks within the bylaw where there are more or less requirements that can be a condition of the special permit rather than, rather than seeking a variance. The bylaw has been written in a certain way where there's a little bit more flexibility for the special permit granting authority and there's a few of the requirements. A few of them in particular, though, requirement number 5, proposed addition as part of the section shall keep the outside appearance of a single-family house. Felt like that was supposed to be the intent of an in-law unit, and so having that be flexible, I thought didn't necessarily need to have an asterisk there to have that as a condition. And then 1 or more water meter allowed per dwelling. Again, it's part of the, if it's an accessory unit as part of the primary dwelling unit, one water meter makes sense. I'm not sure why that would need to be an asterisk as well. And then one of the requirements, this is something that always comes up within the a lot of the public hearings for these cases is about an encased opening. This is more or less something that's proposed usually for many of the special permit requests by the board or by the zoning board, but it's not actually within the requirements. And so that was kind of the basis in terms of adding that. That being said, I think the bylaw in general probably could take another look at even further. And it's a great example of something I probably do need to do a little more research on and finding what the best threshold is, especially for size as well. So I don't know if the board has any other
Can
comments
you
on that.
explain what the meaning is behind encased opening?
So this is a term that for many of the special permits that have come forward in the past year and a half I've been here, that the board looks to have the accessory in-law suite a part of the primary dwelling unit, instead rather having a door separating it and having it almost function as, you know, it is its own separate unit, but in a sense it's more of an accessory too, and it should be connected. That's more or less what it is. It's an encased opening rather than a closed opening, or rather opening of a door.
So you're talking more like an archway rather than a doorway, is that?
I think just a void of a door, so to
Yeah,
speak. So-
it's a carpenter term, a cased opening. It's a dodge, John. It's just, it's not even putting the door up. So that's what,
Okay.
you want to change it to that?
That was mostly my thought process behind it. It seems
I'm
to
not-
always come up from the board. I'm not sure if that's what you're.
Well,
What do you
okay,
think?
my comment on the whole in-law thing had nothing to do with us. That was your board.
Yes.
Whatever they changed to this. And I think they did it with Yanovich before, and, it was a big, broad change. So things don't ever work out 100%.
Well,
To me, if I was gonna have an in-law,
yeah,
I want a door.
it's a good point. Yeah,
I mean, give them the option. I guess that would be it.
And personally, I think you're also looking at, 48 Section 3 and whether that kind of infringes upon the interior of the dwelling, and if that's stretching it too far, in terms of how, like you said, it becomes a preference thing as well in terms of
Yeah, I
that
mean,
be dictated by a permit.
either or, if you're an elderly person in their 80s and you want it open so you can hear, that's one thing, but if you just retired and you're there and you got your daughter and their kids,
Exactly.
I mean, all I'm saying, Patrick, is
Yeah.
if you want to give people the option, either
Yes.
or. That's, because say if you said it has to be cased open, I can't put a door up?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear those kids.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So it should be the option.
I have a few things on this one.
Yep.
So I am actually in the process of trying to add an in-law, so I have a keen interest in this.
Yep.
So one, just like the chair mentioned, I would like to hear from the ZBA, their opinion on these changes, even a vote, I would like. Personally, I would not be in favor of taking the exterior landings. I just look at what I want to do at my house. I proposed 2, it seems to make sense, She can go to the backyard, or she can go to the front yard. I don't know what's to gain there. And the opening, no door, I don't like that at all. I mean, I have 4 kids and I have an elderly mother-in-law
Yeah.
and I know the ZBA has talked about this in other hearings, and I just don't get it. I get that they don't want drifters to come in and rent the thing, but even if you're family, a door is sometimes good, and I would urge the ZBA to reconsider that one.
No, thank you. Yeah, even writing this up, I didn't feel like it was anything ready for prime time, but I just kind of want to hear the board's feedback and thoughts on this. So thank you.
But if you had the single entrance, wouldn't it be like It's like coming into an apartment building, you come in the first door, there's your door, and there's the other door? Is that how you envisioned it to be?
In terms of having only one landing?
Yeah.
I
One
believe
landing, one front door, basically is what it is, right?
Correct, yeah, front door or back door. So, I mean, I guess the thought process behind it when we talked about it, Mr. Crowley, is, you know, if there was only like a back landing or something like that, or even one landing, then the person has to either use that landing or they have to exit or enter through the primary dwelling unit itself. So it may look more in keeping of a single family home. I don't know if it's the most practical, or in the sense that, you know, I don't know if it breaks the mold at all in terms of like truly defining a single family home, but it was just one of the suggestions in terms of,
Well,
could that make it?
my suggestion on this is Sarah has her feelings, because she's gonna go through it.
Of course.
Right. So, yeah,
I mean, I paid
Absolutely.
the architect already, so.
Oh, okay.
Here's what I have to say.
you know, from my own perspective, I don't care what goes on inside.
Mhm.
I think the purpose of this is to make it look
Yeah.
in with the neighborhood. And when the zoning board starts going inside, to me, you've gone beyond.
Yeah.
Zoning is just outside.
Oh,
right?
absolutely, 100%.
And some of those, I would think you'd leave it up to the individual. And whatever they wanna do, as long as it functions as in the building department from the building codes. The thing I had a question, and I don't, can you put these if you're on a septic?
You can do it on septic, so this issue actually frequently happens because there may be a four-bedroom home looking to add an in-law unit,
Yeah.
and they have a four-bedroom septic.
Okay.
So one of the suggestions, or one of the ways, at least the board has done it so far, is if the homeowner has agreed to remove one of the bedrooms, or at least within the deed, have it be now a 3-bedroom within the primary, and now counting the accessory, then it becomes, the 4-bedroom septic becomes,
That's a wink, wink, nod, nod. We had that years ago where you say,
There's
I'm
one
calling
less.
this my Yeah, okay,
it's always the
Well,
office.
there's one last
Yeah.
night, the same thing.
yeah.
They approved.
Yeah. So that does become, honestly, from, I guess, a more realistic, practical point is, you know, the septic does have a capacity to have 4 persons.
No, that's what I was just asking, because I haven't heard of anybody that had to dig up their yard. I mean, if you're an older house, maybe, but,
Yeah,
okay. Like I said, the zoning board should stay out of the inside of the house.
Absolutely.
And the outside. You're trying to make it fit with the neighborhood.
Yep.
We can't be the, what do you call, it, fashion police inside.
understandable, absolutely.
And I think if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it right, so it looks right. So,
Okay.
if you got a good architect. Gotta hope, right?
The pictures are pretty. I don't know. We haven't got to the real part yet.
Yeah, I just gonna make one comment that, you know, maybe the long-range plan is also to remove the kinship requirement.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, you look at 2 cases. One is, you know, somebody has the accessory unit, and then, you know, that family member, you know, for whatever reason is gone. So does that mean they can't use it for anything else? And then second is that it's a good way for, again, the housing issue, the housing crunch. A lot of people who are elders, who may have a large house, it could be a way of relief for them to rent out, if you will, that
Well,
space.
then, Phil, now you're going into zoning, now you're trying to make, this is what we've tried to not happen, turn in-laws in residential areas, in rural, B and A, into
could be fine.
multifamily. What?
It could be fine.
And
I don't agree with it, because if I buy a house in residential, I don't wanna see someone renting because they did the mother-in-law thing. Cause you know what'll happen? You'll be flooded with all these every day.
So I'm just mentioning something that I should do. I know this is what you're proposing, but again, it's in the spirit of looking at the fact that we do need more housing, and we need to be inventive in the way we do it. And, you know, again, it can be done maybe through special permit in some districts, not others. That would be another discussion, but I'm just,
That will
So,
never fly at town
I
meeting.
think something that, you know, I had looked in this a little while ago, and I think it probably goes back to the wider range of discussion and continuing research and looking, a bunch of our neighboring towns also have existing accessory unit bylaws, and kind of just taking another look at how we look regionally, and what other towns have, and see if we're kind of consistent, or if you know, what works from other community standpoints. So you can also take a deeper dive, look into that as well.
And it may be that the state tells all cities and towns that
We
you
need
have
to do
to
that.
allow accessory dwelling units.
Yeah,
So that may happen also.
it's,
That ain't gonna happen.
that's in California, California ended up taking back the local zoning.
Yeah, and it went the other way. They're not getting any more housing affordable, they're getting, going the other way. The developers are cashing in big time. So, that's why I said before, people be cashing in on that, but, the other question is, and I don't know if you guys have done it, but when they come in front of you, does anybody look when they're in the Resource Protection District?
Water Resource Protection District.
We
Yeah.
do.
You do? Because that seemed to die out. Once a certain group left and bill inspectors, that just seemed, you never hear about that anymore. 'Cause a lot of it comes down to the area. Do they have to give you in the resource?
You have to identify obviously what zoning district they're in, and then what, I guess, overlay district they're also in, whether it's floodplain.
Yeah, but then you have the
or
percentage
water
that
resource.
you can have coverage. And it's in the water resource, it's very, very tight, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
15?
15.
Yeah.
We do look at it.
No, I can guarantee you with any of these houses,
Slipped one through, but
any of
we
these
look at it
houses,
and
you're already
apply
at
the
15
return.
because you got a driveway.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the way it was skirted around years ago, you might have been here at college, you didn't pave your driveway, got your final permit, signed off, go pave.
I don't recall any of those. The,
There were a few.
the recharge and the whole impervious thing has gone through a few morphs. I was here when we started it out, I think, but
Yeah, but what I'm just saying is if that gets looked at, because, I don't, do you guys, can they do it on the second floor or not?
We have nothing that says they can,
Yeah,
so
they
if
do.
you have done on the second floor, I
Yeah.
mean, you see situation, just yesterday.
I just, know my curiosity,
Yeah.
but I don't mean to belabor everybody, but
Oh.
the fact that this is your board and they should be the one crying. Get rid of this, we need to do this, do.
Absolutely.
We got one more?
And this was something that I think I thought of, just mostly because of the School Street, situation where there's that limited manufacturing, property on School Street. One of the, not to go into anything about litigation, but one of the issues was we didn't define light or limited manufacturing within our zoning bylaws. The definitions that we have, I think, while efficient, I mostly take this from neighboring towns, and this is something that I also, after looking at it a little bit more, I'm like, well, we could probably do better in terms of something that's a little more practical and modern, but the definition of manufacturing and light manufacturing, I thought maybe could be expanded upon to, in terms of not just defining what it is, but obviously from like a legal standpoint, you have a situation where a use goes in a limited manufacturing district, and it's more of an industrial use or more of a manufacturing use. Do we have a more rigid way to define limited or light manufacturing to prevent a use there that may be a little more extensive for that zoning district? So the definitions, and if you read through them, they're a little bit odd, and the reason being is I kind of looked at neighboring situations, particularly Westwood, Canton, Norwood, Franklin for a little bit as well, and just tried to find some sort of comparison that and how they defined manufacturing and light manufacturing. Again, that's, probably falls under the same guise of, could we make this a little bit more practical and realistic for Walpole? Absolutely, and probably could take a better look at that as well, but that was, at least my thought behind it was trying to secure ourselves, especially for light manufacturing, help defining that.
Okay, in this bit, been doing it for a long time, so
Yep.
that's how it is, give you a lot of hints, not hints, but what's been done in the past. This, to me, is a building inspector, commissioner's thing to
Mhm.
do. We've had over the years, I go Jack, me, we had all the different inspectors. They've come through because it wasn't defined proper, and what we call them is, we just said, okay, and let him get up and explain it. So on this one would be, I don't think any of us know anything about what he's dealing with, light manufacturing. So typically, this is more what the building officials always have to deal with. It's not too clear, it's this or that. And we've had those over the years, that
Yeah.
we clean up so it's black and white as opposed to gray. So if you're gonna do research on this and everything else,
Yep.
the guy who you'd be talking to down the hall,
Okay.
and the building department. I think that's where it typically lies. Because someone will, and rightly so at town meetings, ask the buildings, you ever had issues, and he might go, yeah, here, here, here. Oh, okay. So this is more, the people work with it day to day, not necessarily the townspeople.
Okay.
So, question, what, if you do change this and add this, then what? I mean, you're adding a definition, but are you changing anything in the use table, or?
Not changing anything within the use table, no. I think the thought process was, I guess, to your point, Mr. Conroy, is how does building define it as well? And that could probably be also factored into how we define light and limited manufacturing. But I guess from a zoning point, or from our bylaw standpoint, you know, if we have a use that, for whatever reason, there needs to be a cease and desist, and we feel it's violating what is allowed in that district, if we don't properly define it, you know, that helps the legal argument, so to speak, is to be like, no, we define what you can put in this district beyond the table of use, but also what this district should more or less be geared towards. And so, like, light manufacturing, you know, should be more or less light assembly, fabrication of already manufactured parts rather than raw production or something like that.
So, are there zones within Walpole where you think, or it would be allowed for manufacturing and not light manufacturing, or vice versa?
I would probably classify the industrial zone as more in keeping with a manufacturing use, whereas the limited manufacturing district, zone district would be more or less light manufacturing. And that can also be in the zoning enforcement issue itself, so obviously I'm probably not the final stop in terms of determining what that is.
Yeah, I just think if we're going to do that, then there should be another step.
Okay.
Like, you know, defining exactly where each of these is allowed and not allowed,
Yeah,
or,
so,
I mean,
checking the use table to see what. where
or something, I
this
don't
would
know,
apply.
just adding a definition, I suppose maybe would help with litigation, but again, I don't see the connection to the bylaw.
Yeah, it'd be more of an issue of going into the use table and saying, see definition, whatever,
Yeah, maybe.
something like that, yeah.
When you're looking at it, if you could just take a quick look, when I've looked through, it looks like the industrial, which is the most where you want everything, has the least amount of stuff that can go in it, which I found, you know, if you, this should be, light manufacturing, maybe you can be in this district, but the industrial is, everything can be there. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the nuclear power plant district. Everything that's bad can go in there, but when I look at that, Patrick, it's like, why can't that be in there?
Interesting.
If you just take a look, what I've looked over the different years, it's like this. If you had industrial district, would you have an issue putting it in light manufacturing? With the definition, allow it in industrial?
Yeah, you would think you could do light manufacturing
Yeah,
and
but
industrial as well.
just take a look and you'll see it's funny that a lot of uses, they don't let you do it. To me, that should be any of these AAAA,
Yeah.
you know, other than, you know, restaurants and that type of stuff. But-
Well, but in Walpole, it's not one area, there's like some here and some there and some there, which I think
No,
makes it a
yeah.
little bit difficult.
Yeah, I understand, but it's just funny, you look in industrial and you think, I
You
put
would
anything
think
there.
that'd be the most, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
liberal, easy one, yeah, like I said, you can put anything in there.
All right. So that's the bulk of what I prepared, but there were two other things that I just, actually was talking to Kate about this earlier, and it kind of rang a bell as well. Subdivision phasing. I know.
You gonna take that out? I was waiting for someone to find
It's
that out.
already out,
I don't
No,
think,
no, it's in there, but it's already expired.
yeah, it's
do
expired.
you want to take it out? It is, I think it's been
I've been
expired for 2
waiting for
years.
someone to, I've been watching that just sit there. Because we haven't gone by phasing, because we've
Yeah.
had one Roscommons who told how he's gonna do it. But, yeah, the phasing was for the big subdivisions back during the 90s and the early 2000s, so they weren't getting killed. We're not gonna have any of those anymore.
So I don't have
But it's
that-
expired too.
Yes, so it is expired, so it's not doing anything, so it's more or less cleaning up
Yep.
and getting rid of it. I could put that forward, I know you have a busy,
What,
just to
to get
try
rid
Do
of
that
it?
for
to
the
get it
fall?
out.
Nah,
It's not doing anything, yeah,
You ever presented articles in front of town meeting?
once,
Once, okay. Here's what you do. You do the easy one first,
absolutely.
all right? And so it's, oh, this is it? save the hard one for the last, because you'll be the last article for the night. Everybody will go like this and like,
Yes!
done.
I don't care what it is. Yes, go home.
You throw that one in there, because you know what? Somebody will sit, is Joe moved yet?
I don't know, I don't see the sign anymore, so.
Because if he sits there, he'd be the one, why'd you take this out? Why'd you do all that? Because Joe would pick up on that too. He'd raise, you don't want anybody to raise, so why are you doing it?
So add that for the spring as the kind
So
of.
we can't do zoning because Joe
advertising.
Moraski lives in town.
Understandable.
Yeah, but it is important to do the preparation, because it all takes one person at town meeting raising some issue that people are not sure what it is.
Mhm.
Then the members of, town meeting members tend to be very cautious, and if they think there's some, something bad about that article, some risk or something, they
Yeah.
won't vote for it. So having, everything documented, prepared, and then going before all the appropriate boards ahead of time, and making sure all the town meeting members have all that information is essential, as we've learned, like in the inclusionary zoning bylaw effort and others. So even the simplest things
And,
can be contentious if people don't really understand it.
yeah, I've had a few little dusts up, like one year, the FinCom decided to do the article September 1st before we even had the hearing.
Yeah.
Right, we've had others, we've had to do like at the nth hour, just because the way things go. You wanna give yourself enough time. The ideal would be, if it's ready the day the warrant's open, then it's on, then you can schedule a hearing, like, spring's easy. You got,
Yeah.
once it's in December, you get all of January, all of February, all of March, all of April, and before you get into May. So you got plenty of time, but it's the fall one that all of a sudden, boom.
It just comes at you, yeah.
You think about it, closes August 23rd, most people are still down on the beach, right? And you got September, and that's it, then you hit October. That's a very narrow window.
And you only have one meeting a month.
Yeah, and if you have to continue or something happens, you have no wiggle room doing it in this fall.
All right. Yeah, no, that's
And they
good
get-
for me, because honestly, it is, yeah, figuring out the right schedule and the approach to kind of bring stuff before you and your board and the board. That's key for me, because I want to be enough time for you and the board and be able to research.
It also comes down to the FinCom, because you think about it, is they jumped ahead, but even if we did it after it's closed, we have to wait a certain amount of time to get it back from there's a process.
Yep.
So by the time we get advertising, that nowadays it's a lot harder, so that's almost so the time goes like this. And the FinCom always wants to have the vote before they put out the warrant.
Yeah.
That never happens in the fall. Spring, you have plenty of time to do it. I mean, you could knock this off in end of March, and they can meet and be done with it.
Be good to go. Okay. All right. That's really it. There was another one, again, probably another little minor one. I don't know if the board has thought of, so the site plan review appeal period listed as 30 days under 13.14. Is there the history behind why that was added 30 days as opposed to 20 days?
Ask your zoning board.
Oh, the zoning board did that.
They used to do it until 2000, 2001.
course.
All we did is take it over.
And huh.
We didn't change any of those
No,
rules.
those were, wow.
So,
All right.
but I don't think the 30, let's put it this way, the appeal, you understand, the appeal for the site plan goes down to
Yeah.
building commissioner. And we haven't had one yet, as
No.
long as I've been doing it. No one ever appealed, no one cares.
No.
So,
Not site plan review. Special permit, they'll definitely appeal, but yeah.
yeah,
that's-
the site plan, no. So whatever's written in that section
Mhm.
was inherited by us, and
Okay.
it's been there forever.
All right. Interesting.
There's another one fun coming up, Pat, that you're gonna come back and talk to us about, the MBTA Communities.
Yeah, so I'm still waiting. We're still, as every other MBTA community, DHCD is supposed to release their final guidelines. I think we're supposed to find out in July. We're in the middle of July yet, so hopefully we find out. If not, it'd be interesting if they kind of push back their schedule, considering we're waiting for them to kind of give us the final, so.
I did see that night when I was flipping, I was really bored if I gotta watch, saw you on the selectmen, and Jim O'Neill says, they don't have one? Why are we doing it? Right, they didn't have anything, yeah, I know your report went,
Yeah.
and there was nothing there, so what's there to do? You'd just be spinning your wheels, waiting.
Yeah, there's really, I I looked into obviously what the draft guidelines were, and then compared it to our central business district where our where the MBTA station is, and I never like to say definitely like, yeah, we're good to go, but I mean, it was kind of, I felt okay with where the guidelines are projected, that we may be already pretty much there with what we have and how our zoning is currently. But it is all dependent on the final guidelines, and it's really kind of dependent on.
Was it half a mile?
Half a mile radius, yeah.
Now, is that
And about, I
being-
think, I want to say 50 acres, 50,
At least 50
yeah,
acres,
at least
yeah.
50
What's
acres.
50 acres?
The area that would be
The
zoned
area
for
that's,
the use.
Oh,
Complying.
you can't just convert a single family?
Well, if you want to rezone it, certainly, but I think even our central business district, I looked at just kind of the acreage itself, and I was coming up with around 62, 63, but that was using GIS, so.
I thought this was gonna change it, that you could build up to 15 houses per lot?
has
15,
to be allowed.
15, it was,
I thought this
15
was just
dwelling
gonna
units
be-
per acre density. And then the density actually increases depending on your total housing stock. And then
Okay.
it's a percentage based upon what type of transit station you are. So technically Walpole's designated a bus community because we have an MBTA bus, which is, it goes, the most stringent, you have subway, then bus, MBTA rail, and then MBTA adjacent, which, you're adjacent to a community that has a bus stop, which I don't know how they got that, but essentially we would be the second most dense requirements. Your requirements for what your build out capacity would be much higher.
Okay. Unless I'm missing it, you probably have to get Plimptonville
Get what?
Station. Get Plimptonville Station, they have to say, is that a station or not?
No, it says in the
Yeah.
regulation you only need one per
Well, yeah.
Oh,
town.
one per,
We don't
okay.
have to
Yeah,
worry
even
about
if you
that.
have more than one stop.
So luckily the
Or
And we don't
station.
stop, they don't stop at Plimptonville anymore.
They don't?
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
thought
Well,
they always
even
wanted-
if
They
they
do
did,
occasionally.
Once or
Did they
something.
change that? I thought they were.
It was one train.
I see people parking in
Yeah.
that spot.
Oh, maybe they do change. Maybe I might be wrong.
And then MBTA, if it's like Windsor Gardens,
Yeah.
it just stays in Norwood, it doesn't spill over to Walpole?
No, so for Norwood, have 3 train stations, pretty unique for a suburban town, but they would probably just focus on one
No,
location.
I understand, but if it saves that half-mile deal,
Yeah.
does it spill over to town boundaries?
Nope. So
Oh,
each
okay.
town would designate their location, especially if they have one. The only issue is if you're an MBTA adjacent community, you don't have a transit station, so you're basically picking a location of a town center or if you're by a major route or transportation location. So being the fact that we have a town center and MBTA station, we have a predefined designated location where this would be. It's interesting. So when we do have more, I'll be glad to come back and describe it once DHCD finds that.
Describe it on the selectmen and we'll watch the tape.
no, come here.
All right. Well, let me do your business, and thank you all very much
think
for your
we're all
time and
right.
your feedback.
Thanks, Pat.
You wanna you're too tired, right, Bill?
Thank you, Pat.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
thanks, Pat. Pat, is that yours? Oh, okay. Oh, this ought to be awesome.
I mean, Dan can't be here, so if you guys have any questions, I guess the biggest things were the last
All right,
meeting.
I gotta open the hearing, Bill.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, let's go to
Sorry.
Jeff, please.
Sorry, Jack.
All the years, I guess you've learned how to do this, huh? The hour being after
7:30.
7:30, we have a continued hearing for Dunkin' Donuts, 51 Boston Providence Highway, case 2203. With that being said, what we have before you give your presentation, before you do,
Before?
yeah, because we're gonna play this over and over. I got Kyle's comments and Megan and Larry. Unfortunately, our board won't not meet before the Dunkin' Donuts. I've attached the health board's comments. And the Board of Health will not meet until August 16th. Therefore, the health department would like to reiterate the Board of Health comments of June 7th meeting. The board noted that they did not have any questions or concerns at the time, but noted the plan should include recycling container. The revised plan indicated both trash and recycling will be in the dumpster enclosure. So they didn't say yes, but they didn't say no, they said that was the only comment.
Jeff,
What?
the plans came in on July 7th from Legacy Engineering. They went out July 7th, so they did meet the 2-week.
Yeah,
But we didn't get, that's the only ones we got back were Board of Health and Carl.
okay, and Sarah is, ooh, what's this, the Mullen?
Yes.
You wanna explain it to everybody?
Sure, so, the last meeting, which was June 16th, was when this opened. I was not in attendance, but I've attested that I've watched the tape and reviewed the plans, and I'm signing that attestation and will be participating and voting on the hearing.
All right. There it is. All right. William, okay, since you do, oh, wait a minute, sorry. I should have let Kyle do his, because he has comments. Let it be known, these are the only comments we have from the Board of Health and Kyle's, other than Sarah's Mullen. So, you wanna read yours, Kyle?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Very short set of comments I dated July 11th to the board, and I reviewed the letter that Legacy and the plans that Legacy Engineering provided with the letter, and they basically answered my review, June 14th review. I agreed with the responses, verified that the changes, and the letter is very simple. It says that. And then I noted that the Board of Appeals was, that the applicant had agreed to help us out with permitting a sidewalk on there as it goes from Union Street onto the corner of Route 1. And that the Board of Appeals was going to provide that as a condition in their permit, and the planning board could either do the same or not. And that's about all I had. The plans are very easy to review. If the board looked at that, Dan bubbled out most of the additions or changes that he did in there, so it was a very, very short review, but we're all set to go here.
Okay, the ZBA did approve this last night. As far as, Kyle, what you said about the sidewalk, it's all gonna be one plan, so it's gonna be shown, so we don't necessarily have to weigh in on that, do you know what I mean? 'Cause
You don't, no, you don't have to.
I just want everybody to understand, it's one, we don't have a ZBA plan, and we don't have one for the planning board. So if they put it on there, Rick, Dan's gonna have to put it on anyway.
Yeah, I'm actually not gonna, we're not really looking for it to be put on the plan. It's for them to assist us getting a
Okay,
plan for
all right,
submission
so-
to DOT.
So that's
there's
part of their
really
special permit.
no real
Okay.
plan impact
So
for
then
us.
that would be more the zoning board.
Doing some
Yeah.
design.
Because for us, this may never happen. In theory, it could not happen, Kyle. It's not 100%. So
Yeah, I
if
guess
we
you
start
could
putting a
permit
con-
it and not do
What
it,
I don't
yeah.
want to do is put a condition there like that, and someone says they haven't met it.
Right.
That's all. Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with the way things are, and they did a very good job of cleaning the issues up.
Okay. I'll start with John. You got any questions or concerns?
Me? No, I think they made the adjustments that they were going to the plans. I have no comments this time.
Okay. Phil?
Thank you for making all the changes. I think you really addressed all the issues, and it's good that we're working on the sidewalk grant, so I have no comments.
Okay, Sarah?
I have comments. Okay, so one of the main things I'm looking at is to make sure that there's safe pedestrian and vehicle movement throughout the site. So just a couple questions relating to that. There's multiple exits, entrances at it. I'm not sure, are they labeled, the width of those? Because now we're talking
They're
my.
existing, so whatever was there before, we're not changing anything.
Right,
But they're pretty wide.
they are pretty wide.
Oh, yeah.
Carl, is there any concern, like, too wide? Because sometimes you see the cars coming from Route 1 and they go willy-nilly all over the place and into that. Just wondering if there's if we ask for it to be reduced, would it be safer?
We can't, because that's the state.
That's a state.
That's correct, though. All three
All three
curb
good.
cuts
Even
are under
Union?
DOT
Union?
jurisdiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's within theirs. How far down do they go, Kyle, on a intersection, my own?
Town line.
Hmm?
DOT goes to the town
No,
line.
no, what I'm saying is, you got, well, that's actually, two of them are Norwood, so we got no say. But the one on Union Street, where does the state stop when they're at an intersection like that? That you gotta go seek their approval?
On
100
this,
feet?
so it can vary, but on this one, I looked up the layouts, and the state has laid out to the town line, so that diagonal line that cuts across Union
Okay.
Street is a town line. It's also the end of the state layout where
Okay, so
1927 county layout begins, or whatever year it is.
the south one is in Walpole State, the north one is in Norwood State, and the one on Union, Norwood State.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And then this is something that Carl brought up, but if you could just comment about the parking that's along Route 1. You called it something like not existing or something, but I went. Okay, there's lines on the lot, and so I'm just wondering, like, is there a reason you don't want cars to park there?
I don't, but, I mean, I'm not the engineer, so I'll.
Yeah,
So I don't know the exact reason, but I'm not sure they're legal parking spaces, but people park there.
but it's striped. I
It
counted
is,
12,
yeah, well,
I
pe-
counted
People have
12
been parking
spots.
there since the day we opened up, and so we kind of try to organize the parking spaces so people aren't parking, so we just striped them. Like probably every other,
Non-conforming from the beginning, so that's why you never listed them on a plan. But the cars were parking there, we're trying to keep a lot of the trucks from just pulling in and going up against the sidewalk. It was just crazy, so we did it one day when we had the stripers over there, just to kind of organize it, because it got to be a little crazy.
Yeah,
What
So-
Dan had always said, we didn't list them on the plan because they were non-conforming, they never approved.
so like the business has a certain limit to the parking that's approved, and that would put it over? Is that the problem? I'm just trying to understand why you want a bunch of asphalt without parking.
people are gonna park there. We just can't put on a plan.
Oh, it's a buffer. Oh, and they can't have parking within the buffer. Okay.
Well, you're not doing anything to that side of the parking lot either.
No, we're not
So
touching that
that,
side.
it's just the back side and coming, swinging around.
Right.
Okay. Okay, and so, I like what you did, adding the bollards and the outdoor seating, which is great. It's good that town meeting approved that we can have that nice addition. I think that's nice. The front door, where is that, and do you have the handicap spaces located right next to the front door?
So originally, they were over here, but we're putting an addition,
Yeah,
we're building out,
mm-hmm,
so we moved the handicap spots right here.
okay. Is there, can you move the handicap spots closer to the front door?
Because there's a hill here, it wouldn't meet
We
the,
wouldn't meet the 2%.
I see, okay,
and it's lower here than it is up here.
okay,
It kind of slopes downwards.
okay. But you have the ramp for them to go in from the spot to the door, I see, okay. Okay, and then just a question of clarification, is there gonna be one window or two, like for the drive-through?
So, this is the old window here.
Yeah.
Which is existing window right now.
Yeah,
Like, you go to McDonald's, they have a pay window,
uh-huh,
and then a pay window and a pickup window.
okay,
So during our peak hours, probably 6 in the morning till 10, we're gonna have both windows open.
okay,
Just to speed this traffic through.
okay,
And then, as we slow down, we'll only need just to keep this one open.
okay. 'Cause there's a note on the plan, C2, remove existing window.
Which is this one here.
Right, but you just told me at peak hours you're going to use it.
No, so, the
We're
existing.
adding one a little further back.
Yeah, we're adding,
And
so-
then in the addition, we'll have the pickup window.
Yes,
Right, but why do you have a note that says remove?
Because
Yeah,
they're
the old
adding
one is
two,
getting
they're
blocked
getting
out.
rid of one.
Yeah, the old one's gonna get taken away,
Uh-huh.
and the new one's gonna be moved into the new addition.
Oh, okay, I see,
Because they're
okay.
too close together.
okay. So, yeah, okay, so that's, it didn't look like a window to me, it just looked like a little
Yeah.
bump out on the building, but that's where the other window is. Okay. Okay, and then there was some discussion about the back steps, whether you were gonna take it out or keep it in. You could just update
Yeah,
us?
We're gonna, remove these steps and just have a ramp.
Okay. So it looks like there's steps shown on the plan, right?
Do you open it? There are steps there now.
Well, yeah, but it's definitely, it's not gonna be steps, it's gonna be a ramp, because we did, our dumpsters being moved,
Uh-huh,
used to be like right here.
right,
We
you're
moved
moving
up
them,
Here, so now
okay,
our employees are gonna have to roll down, and it won't be, going down the steps won't work.
And for the deliveries, right now, we have a dock there, so the delivery truck just pulls up to the dock. That'll be eliminated, so they need a ramp to get a lot of it.
yeah, I don't have an issue with the ramp, I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea, it just looks like on the plan that there are steps, not a ramp.
That's both plans.
Also on
C2.
C2,
Yeah, I'm on C, yeah, that's C2.
so I think I think a ramp is great, I don't have an issue with it, but,
I
Just
think the steps are still there because the existing conditions is shown, and it's the
It's
gray
overlaid.
is a screening for
Shown
existing.
underneath.
okay.
So if the steps were, yeah, it's a good point.
But
We
it
can
looks
clarify
darker than
that.
it's.
Yeah, it looks a little darker
It,
than.
it doesn't look like the old parking.
Yeah, definitely won't be there.
Okay, so maybe just for the final submission, just to make sure that it's the ramp shown.
Let Dan know that.
And then I had a
It's
question,
actually called to remove the stairs on sheet C1,
yeah,
so that's a demo plan, so, you
Right,
know,
but
I
then-
mean, the existing features are there on that plan, but they're called for removal, so we could reiterate the removal on C2.
Yeah, but C2's not your demo plan.
Correct.
or just show the ramp more accurately. I mean, I don't know if we can just add a
Well, it's
condition.
there in a heavy line. It is, the
It looks
ramp
like
is-
steps,
Yeah, it's not, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
yeah.
Just put ramp, R-A-M-P.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm sure Dan will know.
it's like the
you know,
stairs aren't
what to
grayed
do.
out or whatever, it's still blacked in.
They're definitely getting.
And that's all I had, thank you.
Okay. Can we move the dumpster to Norwood? Why is it in Walpole?
It's almost,
It'll be
What-
it'll be in the entrance.
Just move it over the line. The only question I have left is, do you guys, when you guys serve, you gotta wait. It isn't like McDonald's, they tell you to go sit over and wait, correct? You know, your McDonald's, and they don't have your order ready. And
Yeah.
they always have a little spot that, but I can't think, none of the Dunkin' Donuts do that, do
You
they?
mean for
If I'm up
outdoor?
there and I want a bacon, egg, and cheese, and it's
Are you
gonna be
coming in or drive-through?
drive-through, and it ain't ready, do you have a plate, or do
No,
you
I
just,
mean,
you just sit there until you
only if
get
the
it?
machine is broken.
You sit there.
Okay, it isn't like McDonald's, they tell you to move over
No,
here.
no. I mean,
Okay.
if somebody comes up, 'cause we take all size orders. If somebody comes up and orders, 2 boxes of Joe and, 3 dozen donuts, at that point, if we're really busy, we'll ask them to pull over to the nearest space to the building,
Okay.
and we'll bring it out to them.
All right, so it's
But
not,
it almost never happens.
yeah, that's why I just asking your business, I haven't seen it, I was just curious, because I'm looking down like that. Okay, I have nothing else. And we have no special conditions, I don't remember, right, Kate? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve site plan, whatever number
Do we have
this
to close
is.
the hearing first?
No, you can do it first. Closing the hearing just stops them from talking. Oh, then maybe that's what I should do. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for Dunkin' Donuts, Providence Highway.
Second?
We have a second. Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, make a motion to close. Second?
Second.
Second. Oh, any discussions? All those in favor? All right. You're done.
Thank you.
See, you can do it in 1 night and a half hour. Why do you have American?
Yeah, I can do all that.
Gee. Now, does Dan pay you and then, but you pay Dan and then Dan pays you? Is that how this will go? I know he is, but you're doing his job.
He did all the work.
Bill, since you're going and that we probably have 10,000 people in the audience watching in Walpole, because this is the best night to watch TV.
Must see TV.
People want to know, when your place down at, as I call Ashmont's, Rocky's gonna be done. What's the ETA?
Tomorrow morning it's open.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
That's so
Oh.
exciting.
Tomorrow morning, probably 7.
They know me well there.
Okay, all right. So you get a little plug for me. You're welcome.
That's funny.
Hey, you know what? They're gonna close the street down and start digging right in front, though. Night. All right, pass that that way. All right, Portland Way, what was the update, Kate?
It was from Kyle,
Oh, Kyle?
basically.
Oh, you went buzzing up there, that's
Well, we
right.
had received, I didn't really understand, but we had received an email from one of the abutters, and
As a planning board, to whom may concern, the sidewalks of Portland Way have been paved, curbing and lighting complete. If you have any, oh, this is from Joe Verderba, if you have any questions. And Carl, let's see. June 29th.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I
Okay,
think that complaint, I think the road was paved just before that, maybe, I don't know if it was a Friday or a Thursday, and they had not got the loam in yet. Shortly thereafter, first of the next week, it was, by the time I responded, it was loamed up. So I think the resident was complaining that the grass strips are still a mess, et cetera,
Yeah,
and
I
they've
saw
since
that
been
too.
dressed out. Unfortunately, it's a tough time of year for loam, and we're getting, I mean, it's a very dry year.
Yeah, and you can't plan anyway, okay.
So I did take a look at it
So-
today, and now the bounds are marked out, they're getting ready to set the bounds. We're still in an impasse with Eversource about trying to get the street light is on the cul-de-sac. We need a pole mount on the, well, what I used to call a cobra head, on the pole up front at the intersection with North Street. There was one work order for both of them. We've been in touch with Eversource, but we have not been successful in getting that. And the whole process may have changed since the town now owns a street light, so I'm not quite sure if that's fouling it up or what's
Oh,
going
yeah,
on. But
that's
we've
right.
got a little bit of a, you know, there have been several emails. The request was done, the work order was issued. The pole got into the cul-de-sac, but we can't make it around the corner to get that pole on the Cobra head on the pole that's right at the intersection of North and,
So as far as everybody's concerned, everything's done but the streetlight.
more or less.
I mean, I
There's-
know you're not gonna get weeds, but other than that, everything is.
Yeah, the bounds have gotta go in. There's always a little,
But I mean, if you drove down there, you'd say, oh, it's done.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
New World Estates, bond? Oh. Gee, they finally came in, huh? All right, New World Estates, bond 38 Peach. Kyle has recommended a set a bond figure of $206,000. Okay, I haven't looked through it real quick. I haven't been up there in a couple weeks. They're not at Binder yet, are they?
They are at Binder.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so they made that request, and the board should be aware that I'm not gonna do these things in real time. Whatever time the request comes, I'm gonna look at it from that point. I don't care if they put a sign in or some other thing in between, all right?
When you sign it.
Well, anything. In other words, the day the request comes in, that's the date we're gonna look at the work. I'm not gonna keep going up there every day to see
no.
if they did something else.
No.
So, so we've got the normal items. They are at Binder, and they have constructed the basins. We left value in, quite a bit of value in for the basins because It hasn't rained, we haven't seen them work, they need to be grassed up, and they need to be squared away with the conservation, and I think they have to come in with a partial as-built. So they're in there, and you know, that can be addressed in a future reduction as we go along.
Well, I would think, Kyle, if someone requests one and he says, oh, you would at least wait, or tell you, look, I want a request, I'm paving July 29th, can you come after that? It's not up to you to go back and forth.
Yeah, I've had enough of that.
Understand.
There was another person requesting bond reductions that really aggravated that situation.
Other part of town?
Correct.
Okay, all right, I'll make a motion to set the bond at $206,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now they can sell some lots, huh?
Yeah.
They were advertising one already.
Yeah, I know, you know, you can advertise until they must have got a few people lined up, but.
I didn't put it in the memorandum, but I think we've got to square away at this point. Once the releases come, we've got to get the Form J and the rest of the covenants squared away as well. So they should be in. I don't know if we want to put something on that and said, okay, we'll hold the actual release papers until we get that stuff. I had asked for those papers at the time of approval, and then they said, oh no, we can do that when you go for releases, so we don't have the releases. I probably should have put it right in the letter, but I think the board might want to think about that, because those are important documents.
Yeah, I would think that their representative knows it well, right? They're still using.
I think so, yeah, but we need them.
You know how they bond in insurance, or?
I don't.
Okay. Just for curiosity, if they've done a lot of work, what would have bond have been, $1 million if you hadn't?
No, we did have a number of about 700,000.
Oh, okay.
We did do it
Start.
in April, yeah, for the total subdivision, yeah.
I did talk to the abutter neighbors part of it on the left side,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, she should have
Why did
kept
they do
trees.
Oh.
You know, the Woolers to the left?
Yep.
Yeah. It's all on their land. I mean, on Peach Street, but I mean, you don't think of it, Kyle, when you're looking, oh, look at all the trees, and then they all come down.
Wow. Think about what Mr. Wild must think of it.
Yeah, spinning in his grave.
Yeah. Well, he knew he could do it. He always told me he's
He would
gonna
have
do
known
it.
something was going on there,
Oh, he told me he was all set. He knew when he was selling or whatever he was doing, it was gonna be sold.
But, you know, it'll come together. It's very barren now, but it'll build out.
Okay. All right, that one's done now. Master plan update. Phil?
Yeah, so I'll give a brief update. So a little more than a month ago, we had a forum, a public forum, and we were soliciting ideas on what actions the town could take in order to implement the 10 goals. So there's the 10 goals that we have, and that includes things like economic development, natural resources, and so forth.
Is
So
that
we
the
did.
one at the high school?
That was one at the high school.
Okay, cool.
So we didn't have a high attendance, so what Judy Barrett did, her consulting group did, is offer an online survey, and we had 418 people respond to that. And what that did is it took, for each of the goals, it had 5 representative actions that the town could take. That could be a zoning thing, or it could be doing, how to promote better use of land, open space, and the like. So it had 5 representative actions for each of the goals, and then room to write in one. And so that was the responses we got. We got from the 418 respondents. So that's going to be input. We have a meeting on next Tuesday. We'll be going over the results of the survey, and now what we're going to be getting into is actually coming up with the plan. What are we recommending for the master plan? What should the town be doing? What are the priorities? So that survey is one part of that, but also another part of it is the professional support we're getting. It's also all of the other input we had, and then last is the committee itself. The committee members will be making their best judgment as we make recommendations. So the meeting after this will be there's an August meeting where we'd be drafting the master plan, and then it's headed for review in September or after, so things are coming along. And I want to acknowledge the committee, and also Judy Barrett and her team doing, they've been doing the bulk of the work, so we're thankful for that.
So Phil, is it September that we're gonna have like a draft? And is that gonna go to the planning board, or there's further steps within the committee?
There might be further steps in the community, yeah, so things have gotten pushed out a little bit, so I'm not sure what that means for the overall schedule.
Okay.
So the so-called leadership team, which is myself and Katie and Patrick, and then the consultants, we have a meeting actually tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So we usually meet before the board meets, so that'll be one of the questions. But right now, we are scheduled to have the draft plan and presented at a community forum on September 15th.
Okay.
That is the current plan. So there, after the draft is presented to the community, we're gonna take that input, and the plan may change based on that. So there's still a few steps before it goes to the end date, according to the schedule, is October 31st,
Oh, yeah.
is when the final plan would be submitted.
I see.
So I think the goal in general would be get all the approvals by the end of the year. That would be what we would like to see, so. But I'll know more tomorrow when we have our leadership meeting and just see where Judy thinks we are.
Okay.
It took them a lot longer to do some of the analysis and putting together the results of their study, so.
September 15th, I have planning board meeting. Is that not right?
September 15th, that could be. No,
Maybe don't do the presentation
Yeah,
unless you're
yeah.
presenting to the planning board.
that was something that.
It's on my calendar, I don't know. I
Yeah,
got it.
September, it's the 1st and the 15th in
Oh,
September.
yeah, of course, okay, I may, that's something I can change.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was what Judy's, that was their schedule. that
Okay,
came up.
yeah.
Yeah, that got by me, yeah.
Okay. And I know you talked about the PDFs, right?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a proposal. Right now, in our procedures, we ask for hard copies of plans and other materials, and, we would have to go through our process to change that. But what I wanted to suggest, and this is to try to really get materials online and get it started now. I talked to Patrick about this. So what I wanted to suggest that and I don't know whether this requires a vote, but I would like to make a motion, if it does require a vote, that we just ask all developers, who's coming forward with a plan, and for anything else they submit, that we ask that they also submit it as a PDF. Now, this would be just simply a voluntary thing, we're not requiring it. But first of all, we see the same small set of developers and architects and lawyers in all these projects. So once we get everybody used to doing it, then, they're just gonna do it. And then second, this really will facilitate putting the materials out online. Otherwise, Kate or Patrick, somebody would have to take a document and then, scan it, create it a PDF and so forth, so there's no reason to do that. So I'm really determined to get, the next time we meet, to get all the materials pertaining to the projects that are gonna come forward that night, to see that they can't already be online. And Patrick's willing to build a web page, so they won't have to do a search online in, what do you call it, the software, the name just escaped me now, the software we use.
Oh, the OpenGov?
The OpenGov, yeah. There'll be a page that will have on it organized all of the materials with links into the material in OpenGov. But that way, people won't have to do a search and may not be familiar with how to do that. That was the plan, Carl.
Yeah, I
So-
think the way others do it is through would be through the planning board's webpage, I think, on the town website.
That's exactly what, that's what Patrick's gonna do. So we'll be a web page, but the materials would be in OpenGov, is the idea. He would just link to them.
But from the user
But from the user
standpoint, it doesn't
perspective,
matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just a
somewhere.
page. It's just
They
a-
go
it's
there
just
and
a-
they find the PDF.
Yeah, it would be on our webpage, planning board, here's the current projects, and it would give a status, and it would tell you all the materials. So my motion would be, if required, it's a motion that we request all applicants for any project, that any material that they give us, they present it not only to meet the requirements of our regulations, but also give a PDF copy when they can.
Okay, but before you make the
Yeah.
motion, Phil,
Yeah.
is we can change or have our own procedure how you submit things. And even if it's site plan, except for if it says 10 copies, it's in the zoning, but we can't change. What I'm thinking is, and I'm gonna tie what you want, and I wanted to do this for a while, is we have a whole application process, and it lists what they gotta do, how many, including the PDFs. And also, it'll give them timeframes of what, for, when advertising and everything else. But here's the rub, not the rub. I'm gonna ask Patrick to do it, because ours and theirs, special permits, zoning board, change it to planning board. So we should have the exact same one, and we can always, for the subdivisions, we can cheat a little and we add a few things, ask him to do it, and the same thing with site plans.
He's already built, by the way, a prototype of that.
Okay.
So it would be, if we're good to actually go that additional
I would rather have
step-
that, but
No, I would be good.
what I
with-
want,
Yeah.
aside from the PDF, I appreciate this, is we get into this snit with advertising. And once upon a time, you had the Walpole Times, you call them, Tuesday, and you get it the following Thursday. Now we gotta go to somewhere else, and it's like 2.5 weeks, and people don't understand. If it's all right in front of them.
And it costs a
boom,
lot
boom,
more.
Boom, boom. This is what you gotta do, done. And part of it would be the submissions of the PDFs.
And they could actually do the whole application online.
And, yeah,
That would be
and
the-
until we, what do you call it? They gotta give us that in writing, that hasn't changed. They can do it online, but it doesn't take effect until we get it, from a legal standpoint, because actually, if you think about it, it's supposed to go to clerk first.
Yeah.
That's in the Mass General laws. The clerk is the starting point for subdivisions and A&Rs and special permits, because you've got that time frame in which to act. So she has to do that. And I don't know if Liz is into this, whatever, but what you said, Phil, is, I agree 100%. We put it all in one. Then we sit here and he doesn't bring it. But until that time, we get it up, we can just ask every time, we want a PDF. And I haven't seen anybody that doesn't use that.
Yeah, I think largely they're going to have it anyway.
Yeah, they just,
That's right.
Yeah.
They're
It's
just
they're
printing it
just
out.
not
Have
giving
on
it to
their
us
soft-
because we haven't asked for it.
Laptops or whatever, it's
Yeah.
gonna be in PDF form
So
generally.
Jack, I think that we could do both. We can first get this PDF.
no, we'll ask
we ask
them.
for it.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
ask them, every time we'll ask them.
Yeah.
And then,
But we can also get the procedure going.
yes, that
and-
should be able, simple, yeah.
And Patrick's willing to build that along with the
Yeah, no,
plan. Yeah.
They do a good job with it with the Board of Appeals. I
They're really
strongly
good, yeah.
support
Yeah.
this incidentally, because it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference for us.
Yeah.
I still want the paper on the table for review.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But sometimes,
it's
like,
very convenient for us to have the
like this
PDFs.
High Oaks, whatever, I wish I had a PDF
Yes, 'cause you
because
can't-
you
you couldn't read
can't
it.
see it.
I couldn't see the elevations.
Can
the-
you-
Can't see the sidewalks and,
Okay, anybody who's up for August meeting, if they haven't sent a PDF, could you just tell them? The board would like a PDF, the board in big capital letters, would like a PDF so they can see the plan, review the plans better.
or is that too burdensome, or we can say at that meeting,
No,
going forward?
No, you can get it, sorry, they all have it, so we just tell
Well, I
them to
know,
send
but
it.
now Kate has to chase them down and
No,
ask
she
for
doesn't,
a
she just
PDF.
asks, let's put it this way, the email will go out, we'll all get a copy, and if we don't get it, you look at them, it's like, gee, I didn't have a chance to look at all of this. Just wake up, guys. All right, so,
Yeah. It's doable? Okay.
So I will talk to Patrick about also going the next step
Yeah.
for the process, because he already has a prototype of the application. In fact, he even showed it to me where, the same as the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah, and at this
Exactly the
point,
same.
it's voluntary, but
It's voluntary, but everybody has it, like, yeah,
well, it doesn't have to,
we expect.
yeah.
you know, we want one. It's not gonna be voluntary, yeah, there's a lot of
Well,
voluntary.
eventually, yeah, it shouldn't be voluntary.
And I
For the
I
beginning.
found the same problem with, the
high
the Northwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't see the elevations, I couldn't read the detail, I wasn't sure what the key was telling me, I was
Oh,
trying to
we
figure
still
out.
get the full sets.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right,
but
which
I
is
also
important.
Well, then we have to go
received
into
the,
cows. Keep.
Behalf.
The PDF. What
Of
happened was
Northwood?
it was brought in and it was for all the departments. So I confiscated it and it's on my desk now, so,
Oh.
the other departments will have to wait.
Okay.
What, the set or a
The,
PDF?
the, entire thing was on a,
On a drive or
yes,
something?
thank you.
Okay, yeah, on a
Oh,
thumb
so a
drive or
physical
something.
And that,
drive?
I just, that just. was
Yeah, but you
the
could
name of
just send the PDF, email it to each, and they
Right, right, but,
can pop it up.
right, but when it, usually each
Yeah, it's not-
applicant gives one to each
I
board.
bought one lately,
But
but
that
they aren't
didn't
that
happen,
expensive
so
anyways,
they
the cheap
just
ones,
put it
yeah.
on the table and said, this is for everybody, which doesn't really work.
Yeah.
There should be 3 of them on the
Also, it
drive.
shouldn't be
For
Kate
developers,
emailing
Yeah.
everyone,
No,
and
for
we
now
have to
it's
find it in
minor
our email.
expense.
It's good to have it like, I go
No,
to the
but
town
since we're
website,
just
and
starting
my
this, that's
neighbor,
right.
who's just curious, also
to the
goes
same
to the
website,
town
yeah.
website.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you can type, one of the apps, just put PDF, however you want to put it there.
In
So
the
it-
ad?
No, in the
Oh.
application.
Oh, yes, okay.
Just change that and just say PDF required.
Okay.
Thank you.
PDF, quicker hearing, no PDF? 2 or 3 more
64
meetings?
days.
All right, well done, make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a
Second.
Okay, any further discussions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.